An Eye for an Eye podcast contains subject matters that many may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the show today, Studio. Studio wants to revolutionize the way people see headphones as not just a tech device, but as also an accessory.
That everybody can use our offer code, Eye for an Eye, EYEFORANEYE, for 15% off any purchase on their website, and we can also offer you guys worldwide shipping for free.
We are back. We are back. Do, 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 do. Just kidding. All right, what up, everybody? It's your host, Lisa, with your Eye for an Eye podcast, and my co-host,
your boy, Matty Ice.
Your boy, Matty Ice.
Hello,
we're back
everyone.
for another episode of Eye for an Eye, baby.
We're back.
Back and ready to fucking attack, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, and we've got some amazing feedback from you guys, and we want you to know we are listening. We had one regarding the sound quality, and we do apologize. Matt and I were just talking about how, it's so crazy the growth we've had, because if you saw our setup right now, because we're poor and
we're broke.
We have one microphone that we're huddled around, so we do apologize if it ever does seem echoey. We're definitely going to work on that. We're definitely going to spend more money and, get us another microphone as we continue to grow. We didn't really think this would pick up how it has.
If any of our listeners are wealthy billionaires,
please send us a microphone.
Send us a microphone or a check. I will give you my address personally.
Yeah.
But no, we really do. Lisa, I'm so glad you mentioned, because it's been absolutely humbling having such incredible user growth and exponential listener amount. And just the last month, we've seen literally 400% increase in our listeners.
It's actually incredible. Every day I'm texting Matt pictures of the statistics. I'm posting them on my social media because I'm humbly bragging because I'm shitting my pants. I never thought that we'd even get more than 100 downloads.
And we honestly were this will be fun to screw around and something to do when we're bored on weeknights. But it's unbelievable how much feedback and how much love you guys have shown us. So the
messages, the reviews, everything. Even just coming up to us in person, messaging us on Facebook, leaving a comment on our Instagram, leaving a comment on our Facebook page. You guys are we die every time. If we're not together physically, Matt and I, we text each other pictures of it. We're talking about it. It's incredible.
Dude, I had an ex. Humble. Did I tell you I had an ex-girlfriend reach out to me and say, "Hey, I heard you're doing a podcast now."
No.
I was like, oh shit.
You listen?
Yeah, check it out. Whoever it is listening, we don't care.
My ex also listens to it.
Hey, if she's listening right now, what's up? You get a shout out on here.
Yeah. Hi.
Hope everybody's doing well out there.
Yeah, but we just wanted to quickly shout out everybody because we're so humbled by all of the responses. We're constantly growing. We love the feedback. We loved the feedback about the audio quality kind of sounding a little echoey, because that's something we're going to work on fixing.
Right, yeah.
Like I said, our setup right now is pretty sad, but this is because we're new and we don't know really what we're doing.
We're still crawling out of the primordial ooze of podcasts. And I know, I just love that phrase. So we're still working on some of the technical difficulties, guys.
So we promise we're going to get better, and we take that to heart, because without that knowledge, we don't really realize, that those are things that our listeners are
Yep. So, but we're working on it, and we love, like we said, all the feedback from you guys. So,
and real quick, I want to shout out to those people who have left us new feedback. The one by Muffins247, which was about the audio quality, which we love. El Nino came back because we love her so much.
That's our girl, yo. We are big fans.
I think we're her biggest fans, honestly. Every time
we're
she does
mutual fans. We're mutual fans. That's what it is.
That's such a beautiful bond to have. We're mutual super fans.
Yes.
So El Nino, Muffins247 with the amazing feedback about the quality. We really appreciate that. Xylon was talking about finding us on Facebook and being a fan and listening to us on his morning commutes. That was amazing. And also Chloe Lynn 96, her review was also very nice as well. We loved it. We're very happy. Thank you guys so much for shouting us out, leaving us comments, reviews.
We also want to give a shout out to our recent Facebook message, our good friend Genesee, who said, some really nice things about us. also reached out just asking us a little bit of questions about us. So we always love talking to our fans. Please give us a shout out.
Like we've said a gazillion times on this podcast, we want to have you on our show.
Yes, we would love for you guys to join us.
Looking at you.
Yo, for real. And Ange, I know you're listening.
Yes.
You got to come on soon.
Nathan, we have Jennifer.
John Nathan.
That has left us a lot of comments and love. And she's actually someone we really need to talk to and create some messages for, like I said.
We do, yes. We have a good dialogue.
She did a line of profession that we're really interested in bringing light to on this podcast.
Absolutely.
So that's a little shout out corner. We love you all. We're so grateful for all of you. We hope you continue listening. Spread the word if you like us. Rate us, review us as these people have. We love you all. We're very, 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 very appreciative, and we shit our pants every time something new happens on this podcast.
Hey-yo!
All right, so today's case is another quintessential Eye for an Eye podcast case, because it really does beg the question, does the punishment fit the crime, Matt? It's one of those cases where it's like, you scratch your head and you're like, fuck, this is one where, like, does it make sense to sentence a person? Does it not? Where are the lines? Where do we draw them?
We've done some cases where it's like, okay, it was a obvious ruling how it should have gone, and we're left wondering what the hell happened here. By the way, check out our segment, WTH3, what the hell happened here? But seriously, some of these cases we reviewed, we just are left wondering,
like our theme of this podcast.
That's kind of the theme of what the hell happened. But honestly, this case, you are going to kind of, and if I know I was, kind of wonder, what do I really think happened?
And also, like, this is just a spotlight on probably a lot of cases, not necessarily exactly like this, but like with the whole realm of the whole community of this kind of thing. We'll get into it.
Yeah, the internet is the basis for all of this, of course.
Yeah, of course. And we're gonna there's a few cases that I have on our list to cover that have to do with the same exact content, just a little bit different in how the crime played out. So for this one, it's definitely one where we're really gonna ask you what your thoughts are, what your opinions are, and what we could do better to make sure that something like this never happens again.
Right.
So for those who still don't know who we're talking about yet, because like I said, there's a lot of cases that kind of have to do with this whole censorship type of thing, because I would say that would be like what it comes down to, is should we be censoring people?
It sort of falls under the umbrella of censorship and laws in reality versus abstractness.
Yeah.
And,
like virtual versus physical realities.
I mean, okay.
Yep, so this case is on Sharon Lopatka. Now, I found this case actually a really long time ago. Not a really long time ago, but like a long time ago. I believe it was, hold on, I have the actual date. Hold on one second. 2008, a film came out called Downloading Nancy. Now, this movie is directly inspired by this case, and that's led me, I don't know if anyone else does this, I don't know if you do this, but I'm huge on like Wikipediaing movies to see what the inspiration was behind them, or like I love behind the scenes facts.
I'm absolutely the same way.
Yeah, and through researching Downloading Nancy, which I suggest everybody sees, it's very interesting, and like I said, it covers this case, so it will definitely leave some questions in your head, or really make you kind of really delve deep into your own self and see how you would feel about this case on both sides of the spectrum here. So it's about Sharon Lopatka. So Sharon Rena Lopatka was the first of 4 daughters born to Orthodox Jewish parents, Mr. and Mrs. Abraham J. Denberg. Now, her father, much like my mom, even though she's not really a cantor, but she sings in the choir, he was a cantor at their synagogue. She was raised in Baltimore, Maryland, was seen by everybody as a normal girl, normal as you can get. Her classmates said there was nothing, like she was never in trouble. It was never, like, she's just a normal kid. Nothing to raise flags, nothing to be concerned about. Because sometimes you see these cases, it starts early.
Yeah,
you see them killing animals, lighting shit on fire, choking out babies.
Seems like she was more normal than we were.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Because
there's really nothing to report on her. I've done some digging, and there's really nothing that anyone had said that was like, oh, this girl had some, some fantasies in her mind that may not match up with what a quote-unquote normal person would think, which that's not to say these aren't.
And I'm going to bring this up again later, but she was also raised in the era before the internet became a phenomenon that everybody was using.
That's a huge part of this.
So I will definitely say again later that I think internet addiction and that whole realm has become not only, some people think it's not even real. I'm like, dude, trust me.
It's real. Real.
It's real, man. Like, people
it's real as my addiction to cheese, TBH.
Yes, and my addiction to living. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. What?
I wasn't going to say it out loud.
But yeah, she was part of sports teams in her school's choir club. Like I said, Matt, all accounts, she was doing her normal teenage thing. Nothing really stood out. She kind of was like a wallflower, Just kind of blended in with the world.
She doesn't really pop up on the radar until much later.
Yeah, so she graduated from Pikesville High School in 1979, and she ended up marrying construction worker Victor Lopatka in Elliott City, Maryland in 1991. So that would make her how old? Because I'm shit with math, Matt.
Well, she was 30.
Okay, so she was only married for 4 years before this happened. So she married him. She was about 30 years old and moved with him to a ranch-esque tract house in Hampstead, Maryland in the early 1990s. Now, I don't know about you, Matt, but I was like a little bit mischievous when I was younger, and I would always watch like late night programs. And there was one that would always talk about like, not necessarily like sex lives, but like just like the taboo lives of like people, like the nighttime shows. And one of them had to do with being like addicted to online, like you said, and getting into that world. And so it seems like during her marriage, it wasn't, I guess, eventful enough. I don't know where that comes from, but we'll find out later that she was living kind of a double life online versus in person, which was new. Like you said, it was a new phenomenon at that point. Now, her marriage was described by a classmate as a way of breaking away because her parents didn't support her marriage. It doesn't really go into why they didn't like Victor, but I think they just wanted something better for her. And it seems like that was her way of rebelling against her parents. Mm-hmm. It seemed like she just did that as a way to, kind of be like, fuck you.
Piss them off, yeah.
So she was fascinated, like Matt had mentioned before, with the internet. Now, it was a newer thing. I don't know when it, came about. Do you know when the internet was created? I don't. Doesn't really matter. But it was a newer phenomenon. It was something that was newer in her time. And she thought that the internet could change her life and maybe even make her rich. So that's what a lot of people think nowadays. Honestly, you see the YouTube stars, the Instagrammers. You see Vine stars when Vine was a thing. Twitter, personalities. You see that constantly now. That's a constant. People are trying to make money off of the internet. eBay, Amazon, people are constantly selling and buying things on the internet. It's just an easier way to do things.
Well, yeah, since the early 1990s when the internet became more sophisticated, people have kind of used it as a way of communicating, buying and selling, also finding information, or
kind
even...
like get rich type of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that people have made money on
the internet.
So.
And it made it easy and simple. You didn't have to go anywhere. You could do it in the comfort of your home, wearing whatever you want. So that was something that Sharon was really, really into by all accounts after the fact. Now, during all of this, no one really knew what was happening. She took to Usenet news groups. Now, in 1996, these news groups were the internet's social backbone, a primitive and more tribal forerunner of Facebook. So Usenet was what they would use instead of Facebook. It was kind of like I was describing to Matt, as I understand it, kind of like chat rooms. Yeah. Kind of like, your average, you'll find a chat room if you're bored and, different subjects of each room. So it was kind of like that. And thousands of them existed, and a lot of them were small and frequented by regulars who enforced house rules, usually amounting to trying to keep it civil between users. So just making sure things stay, not PG, because none of these groups were really PG, but making sure there was civility still within these chat groups, because when you're online you can say whatever you want. Yeah. Trolls are a real thing. They'll spam you to death, and they'll be so rude and so hurtful. So that is something that they tried to kind of keep out of Usenet. So
they did the best they could.
Yeah, in 1993, which was the year I was born, AOL offered Usenet access to its subscribers, opening the floodgates to millions of anonymous users who had no desire to follow the rules. So this change was later dubbed the Eternal September, when all these anonymous users kind of flooded into Usenet because they all got it for free with their AOL subscriptions. In 1996, Lopatka took this as a time to start trying to make an internet career, trying to turn this into a business for herself.
She made her money.
Yeah, so she started an online advertising business from her Elcott City home in order to make additional money. So like I said, using the internet to try to make money. She did online advertising for local businesses, and she hosted a website called House of Dion, which was for selling home decor guides by mail for $7, which is so oddly specific, but every single article I read mentioned that $7 mark.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like a steal at the time, but it was literally mentioned in every single article I looked at for this case. I'm like, that's just such like a random point, but I thought I guess it's important in those. So
$7 won't even get you lunch at Chipotle these days.
Yeah, you're right. So maybe that was a lucrative business. So she was doing that, selling the home decor guides. I'm not even sure what a home decor guide is. Do you have any clue what that would be?
Home decor guide?
Yeah.
Basically just selling people on ideas of how to decorate their
home. Like a home magazine, but online type
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah. Just selling people a bunch of different, like, if you buy this and you get this accessory, you'll get this, So.
Yeah, because she did have an advertisement on the website that read, "Home decorating secrets seen in the posh homes from the New England states to the Hollywood homes can now be yours, never published before. Quick, easy ways to decorate your home." So I guess I should have waited to ask that question because it is quoted. And she was paid $50 per advertisement rewriting ad copy that her business, for a different business that she ran called Classified Concepts. So she would write and rewrite ads for businesses, and it was a business she referred to as Classified Concepts. Now, she also, at the same time, she was really trying to milk the internet for all it was worth, Matt. She was ripping at the udders. None of that's right. None of that's, all of that's gross.
I was going to say, what are you talking about? She was doing a lot, but I don't know anything about udders or gutters or kid named Butters. No, I didn't stutters or mutters and none of that.
So she, along with Classified Concepts and her home Dior, whatever the fuck it was called, House of Dion, she ran several websites for distributing psychic readings and garnering a percentage of the money from sales of other services with premium rate telephone numbers as advertised on her websites. So, like, that's like back in the day when you'd have to pay like $10 to call a 1-800 number. You know how they'd like the phone sex lines would be like, call like 1-800 blah blah for a good time, and they would actually charge you.
You know, I gotta be honest, I don't know from personal experience, but
Neither do I.
I believe you.
Neither do I. I was like, this was before I was like alive.
we were children then.
Yeah, but it seems like she's kind of all over the place. It doesn't really seem like she has a niche. She's just trying to do everything and anything to
that's what I'm getting. She was like hitting the dregs of the internet to get money from people in any way she could. Yeah, like
psychic reading stuff.
I'll read your palm. I'll sell you a home decor magazine, or I'll offer to do anything you want sexually on the phone.
But Matt, it got crazier.
So, it gets worse.
Like you mentioned, she marketed pornographic content under an alias, however, and the alias's name is Nancy Carlson, which is crazy because I know someone with that exact name. What? I know a real person named Nancy Carlson.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh, this would mortify her. She marketed pornographic content under the alias Nancy Carlson. Now, Matt, it wasn't just normal pornographic content. She went above and beyond. Like we said, it seems like she was trying to push the bounds of every corner of the internet.
Yes.
And this was a corner it seemed she took a real fancy to. Now, she would advertise these pornographic images which depicted women who were unconscious from being drugged, hypnotized, what is with her and hypnotism, or chloroformed, engaging in sex acts with each other.
Ugh.
So, under her Nancy C544 alias, she wrote on May 3rd, 1996, "Hi, my name is Nancy. I have blonde hair, green eyes, I'm 5'6", and weigh 121. Is anyone out there interested in buying my ... worn ... panties? This is not a joke or a wacky internet scam." So as we said, she's really trying to do whatever the fuck she can on the internet. But it seems like soon she's really trickling into real interests that she has. She's feeling out the internet, what it is, doing different things, different corners. But now it seems like she's kind of honing in on
seeing if anybody will respond to her.
These subcultures of fetishes and different, she's kind of seeing what's out there. She knows the internet has opened a floodgates of anonymity that wouldn't, fuck you, anonymity.
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 That reminds me of Uncle Jack. John Ryan, I hope you're listening. Uncle Jack, shout out. C. Sabacus.
Fuck. Anyways. I think she really played on the fact that people are anonymous on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You like how I rephrase it so I don't have to say that word again?
That was well done.
She did not discriminate with her advertisements and her marketing campaigns, Matt. She was targeting singles looking for love in Houston, Chicago, Los Angeles, Australia, lonely souls seeking pen pals, overweight women and their admirers, aficionados of magic and the paranormal. She used the internet to fulfill her own sexual desires that were often considered irregular to society. So she literally was just, I think she found a place in the internet where she could flourish.
She found every niche there was.
Literally from fat women seeking pen pals to magic.
Aficionados of magic?
That's like, what?
What? Like,
yeah. So
she got a message from a fat lady who loved Houdini and had her own, like, Sawman and Half box. It's over.
Just, yeah. Through this, she was posting in chat rooms, she was posting ads everywhere, and people would actually flag her messages as spam. One even reported her to a Usenet group that logged her net abuse.
Oh, shit.
Matt just broke his chair, so sorry if you heard like a whirlwind of shit go through the microphone. Is it okay?
I don't know, mate.
Did you permanently break it?
I think I may have.
It's stressing me out watching you do this. I'm waiting for the whole thing to just collapse.
Oh no, I broke it.
Let's get back to it. You just stop touching it, Matt. You're gonna make it worse.
Alright, yeah, well, I guess there's no other recourse now.
So Matt broke his chair. We're back.
Hi.
From that little indiscretion.
I'm leaning.
But yeah, like we were saying, that video is 100% going up somewhere.
Okay.
So yeah, people would flag her messages because they said it was abusing the system and that she needed to be stopped because she's offering services that people were paying for and she was not providing information for. So, or by information, she wasn't providing the product. Like people would buy something from her and then she wouldn't send it to them. So basically she was scamming them. Users actually started reaching out to her directly because it didn't seem like Usenet was really doing much. She posted an ad for love spells on an online group devoted to teen romance. And one outraged user, which I'm guessing is the girl's mom, replied, this is 100% the mother of this teenage girl.
Oh, absolutely.
Where on earth do you get off by posting your booby trap for neurotics in a group designed for teens? Because they're more likely to go through troubled phases in their lives and thus fall for your money grubbling drivel?
Yes.
And a user named Studley Muffin wrote, "Are you expecting any serious replies to this dross? Do you think it's a tad don't you think it's a tad unethical to dangle poisoned carrots in front of a hungry donkey?"
Wow.
So I think
graphic imagery there, Studley Muffin.
I'm not trying to knock anybody who believes in like potions and shit, but like she was selling a love potion. What did you think she was gonna send you? Like what?
I mean, yeah, people are.
I mean, I don't want to judge because I know there's people out there who do believe in this stuff, and that's wonderful. And if it works, go for it. But like, be careful. Basically, when you see an ad on an internet that says love potion, be skeptical. Maybe don't buy it unless there's like a lot of reviews that say it's legit.
I'm just gonna come right out here and say it. There is no drink on earth that makes someone fall in love with you. Period.
Matt, we're gonna have witches come after us.
Good. I hope they do. Either way, I'm saying I would just come right out and say I don't think that there's any potion on earth that can make anyone do anything except perhaps tequila. And it doesn't make you do anything. It makes you do things
Yeah, if you want
slower.
a love potion, get some tequila in your system.
Yeah,
You'll fall in love instantly.
Yeah, get some shooters, get some limes and some salt.
And you'll have a night.
Yeah.
So people were pointing out that Sharon was being deceptive online with her advertising. She wasn't providing products she was saying she was selling. And it seemed as she was living this double life online, but her friends and family don't report anything out of the ordinary. Still, they're reporting that she was still normal. She was living normally. Her husband was fine with her. There was no reports anywhere that this was all going on the internet. Can you imagine how stressful that would be to live such a different life on the internet than you do in, like, the world?
In real life,
And so many people do. That's such a big thing. But seriously, there's literally no reports regarding her husband or her friends saying that anything was wrong in her marriage, in her life, that would have predicted any of this. No one knew that this was going on besides the people getting scammed by her, honestly. So she went under more pseudonyms and personas while on the pornographic chat rooms of sites like fetishfeet.com and sexbondage.com that had members with fetishes such as necrophilia, bondage, and sadomasochism.
So she's already dabbling in some of the more...
Yeah, she's getting to a little bit of the extreme corners of the internet.
Yeah.
I think this might have been before... no, I think the darknet was always around, but this is like something where I don't think you could readily find a necrophilia chat room now, nor would I want to, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's as readily available as it was back then, because there weren't censors on it.
I'll send you the Facebook invite.
Ew, stop it. So, so she had a character that she presumed called Carlson, who was a disciplinarian dominatrix pornographic film actress who weighed 300 pounds, and that was one of the pseudonyms she used in these chats. So she would take on full-blown other personalities from herself. A 300-pound dominatrix named Carlson. Just a strange name. In August, she did begin advertising homemade porn, including $33 VHS tapes, because remember, we're back in the day when VHS, baby. Remember to rewind.
This is the OG porn.
Yeah, never forget to rewind those fucking videos from Blockbuster. Yeah. Ugh. Lord, it would piss me off when I had to stop from... take 10 minutes out of my day to record the fucking film back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
In these tapes, she advertised it as gorgeous... gorgeous giant goddess. Crushed men like bugs. A fandom variation on Godzilla, which is a real thing. That's a real fetish people have. People like to pretend they're tiny people and like to be crushed by big giant people. That's a real thing. You know that it's called like Area, what the fuck's it called? Like Area 42 or 58?
51.
No, that's like with aliens, right?
Yes.
I'm talking about, hold on, I'm going to look it up. It's basically, what's the term for if you can think it up, there's porn for it. Fuck.
I'm just wondering how anybody gets satisfaction from the idea that a giant Godzilla, like, fat person would crush you to death.
I don't know where these fetishes come from, but I'm not going to knock them because everyone has their own sexual vices. As long as you're not hurting anyone, I don't really care what the fuck you're doing.
Amen to that. Do whatever the hell you want as long as I don't have to see it. And it doesn't hurt anybody like this eventually did.
Yeah, and it would be very surprising to know. Okay, it's Rule 34. Now, Rule 34 states, if it exists, there's porn of it. No exceptions. And I think this is one of those cases where Rule 34... Yep.
Now, is that in the bro code?
That's just like in life. It's just like on Wikipedia and in the world.
Okay.
Urban Dictionary type of thing.
Gotcha.
So Rule 34 basically means if you can think it up, there's definitely someone has created a porn of it somewhere. And you could get crazy with it. Like, I've literally seen... this is so fucked up. My brother's friends found it. It's a cartoon dragon fucking a car exhaust pipe. Don't know how they found that. But Rule 34, you can think it up, you can dream it, it exists.
Your brother's friends don't get out much.
They're very intelligent, but they definitely went to the weird depths of the internet. So, that was one of the things she was advertising on one of her pornographic sites. It was said that it wasn't believed that any of this actually existed. It doesn't believe her potions existed. I don't think there was ever actually a product. Maybe the home decor thing, but because that was like an online magazine.
Yeah.
But as far as real tangible products that she was saying she was going to send to people or videos, I don't think any of these existed. I couldn't find anything, and no reports ever said any of these existed in real life.
So she's making it up.
She also offered a foot fetish video, the video that showcased extreme weight gain, and another that featured chloroformed women in frozen like wind-up toys. Or frozen like wind-up toys, which is so fucked up. So that video she titled, which again doesn't exist, but she would advertise as if it did. She called it Land of the Frozen Women, and she even included a detailed production notes describing how 25 attractive women under 30 volunteered to participate without knowledge and that real chloroform, real gas, and real knockout drops were used. And she even wrote, that's the pure beauty of this film, the realism. And that was in her advertisement. Now, for $100, clients could place custom orders, an exclusive half-hour video in which no fetish was too bizarre, no scenario too taboo. So she's acting as if she's going to provide snuff films, basically, for people. Whatever you want, whatever you can dream of, whatever your mind can make up.
If you'll send us $100, we'll do it. Yep.
But again, there was no record that she ever actually had any of these videos, that these were ever real. There was no 25 women that were randomly chloroformed on video. That didn't exist.
Yeah.
So she's just making, and that's even scarier almost. Not really, because thank goodness no real people were hurt.
Yeah.
However, it's scary that this was all so far in her mind that she was like advertising. I don't know if it was a money thing or if it was a fetish thing or if she just got off scamming people. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But basically, she posted more than 50 ads for her films between August and October of 1996. Boop, bop, boop, bop. Including several for the torture porn, which we talked about, chloroforming girls and doing whatever you want to them, which is really disturbing. Basically, like I've said a million times, there was still no proof or any kind of evidence that these videos ever existed, thank God. It just makes you wonder where her mindset was or why she was saying that these videos existed when they clearly didn't. Was she getting off by bringing these fetishes up to people and discussing them with people? Was she in love with it for the money, that she could get money for it? We don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know. Swindled users did warn people about the scam. One writing, Nancy Carlson is a bullshit artist. I ordered the video 3 weeks ago. She confirmed receipt of my order, and every week she tells me it will be mailed on Friday. So every time this person asks her where her shit's at, they say it's going to be mailed Friday. Okay, Friday comes around. Where's my stuff at? It's going to be mailed Friday. So clearly she's scamming these people. In a news group devoted to Waking, Sharon...
She was like 15?
Yeah, it's hard to keep track. So in a news group devoted to weight gain, she volunteered to be force-fed until she hit her goal weight of 475 pounds. And she wrote on the site, I am not interested in an email correspondence or a phone feeding. What I would really like is the real thing. So Matt, this is where we see her start to dabble in really taking it to that next level. She wants realism. She wants to be a part of these things for real. She doesn't want to be behind a camera. She doesn't want things to be over the phone anymore. It seems like she's really crossing over to kind of like a snuff film territory. She wants to be a part of these things in real life, or so she says. She noted her willingness to relocate for the right person for that feeding video, which suggests that a potential commitment, she was willing to make a great commitment. She was willing to relocate. She was willing to come to the person who was willing to pay or collaborate with her on this feeding video. Doesn't seem to have ever panned out, however, although I kind of wish it would have, because if it had, who knows where this case would have ended up. Now, although her fetishes were more extreme, this did not mean Sharon wanted to be a homewrecker. She made it clear, Matt, in a lot of her advertisements, that she did not want to break up any marriages. So if you were married, she was saying, please don't even try. Don't come to me. Don't feed me. I don't care. If you're married, that's a deal breaker, which is interesting to note because...
Yeah, of all the things she was okay with, not adultery.
Yeah, don't be married. Even though she's married, so it's a little confusing. This is where shit starts to really kind of hit the fan. And this is something we're definitely going to hit on when we discuss the eye for an eye, does the punishment fit the crime part of this podcast. So we'll wait to have the discussion then. But on a group about necrophilia, which for those who don't know is the desire or fantasy or action of having sex with a dead person, someone who is no longer alive, she posted a message with the headline, in quotes, want to talk about torturing to death, ... question mark. Now, she introduced herself as Gina under the ad, and she wrote, I kind of have a fascination with torturing till death, ... Of course, I can't speak about it with my family or friends. I hope you all don't think I'm strange or anything. Because she's in a chat room for necrophilia and necrophiles, I would say she's in the right place for people to not think she's weird for that, because this is kind of the theme of the whole... I mean, I don't know about murder part of it, because some people who, I guess, fantasize about being a necrophile would never actually kill someone or anything like that, or they want the people to already be dead. We'll get into that.
I actually read somewhere that most necrophiles don't enjoy the act of killing or in
they'd
any
rather
way,
just like dig them up from
right,
the
they
grave,
associate themselves with places where dead bodies
are found,
you know, like in a morgue or at a cemetery as an employee, things like that.
Good point. Yeah, so like I said, so that's a really great point. This is, so maybe, I don't know, I guess these people would probably be a little bit more understanding of that becoming an article. Like, if I saw that on Facebook, I'd report them immediately probably, or call their family or something. But, like, in these kind of situations, this is the talk. This is the kind of stuff that people were talking about. Mm-hmm. Still, to this day, which is wild to think about, but we'll talk about that again later. So, as expected, in a necrophile chat room, replies started coming through, you know, at an alarming rate, really. And one said, yeah, I'm really into that. Such scenarios excites me a lot. But not only the fantasy thing. Experienced, pain-loving men want to exchange thoughts. And then 2 days after that, another user chimed in and said, of course, we all have our fantasies. Would like to share mine with. One of which is to torture a naked woman to death. Would you like to hear about it? This conversation and generally her behavior in these chat rooms did alarm sex workers' rights activist named Tanith Delano, which is not her real name, but that is what she went by for the article that I was reading about, who tried to stop Lopatka's behavior. So many users had objected to Lopatka's hardcore disclaimer-free posts. Mm-hmm. There was nothing to say it was a fantasy. Nope. She was kind of teetering on the brink of reality and fantasy life. And this is for...
She's essentially getting to the point where she's
concerning
asking,
people.
Yeah.
She's concerning the people that are in these chat rooms. And you have to think these chat rooms are made for the hardcore, made for the people that have these fantasies. For them to be concerned is concerning. Right. You know what I mean? Because they know that there's a line that they're not going to cross. And they're seeing that she's starting to inch towards the crossing of the line. Mm-hmm. So they did report her. And it was interesting to note, I did find this in my research, members of the bondage news group did take safety seriously, so much so that they would arrange phone interventions with users whose fantasies were deemed legal or sexual risks, which I think is amazing. Cause
yeah, it's actually kind of admirable for them.
It's important to really recognize when things are taking a turn for the worse, I suppose. Now, some of those calls were even routed to the San Francisco Sex Information Hotline, which was a switchboard where trained volunteers provided unbiased sex counseling. Because, of course, and we're going to talk about this later, there are people with these real fetishes. These are very real fetishes, and we're not trying to demean or discredit those people because it is a mental psychological thing. It's not something, I don't necessarily believe they're all a choice at all. I believe that this is something that either stems from trauma or stems from something else. But it's definitely something that's not something you can turn on and off. And so it's important to have resources such as the San Francisco Sex Information Hotline where people are non-biased when you call in with maybe concerning fantasies, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll definitely put links in the show notes today for something like this, if not the exact San Francisco Sex Information Hotline. I just really want people to know that, like, we understand these thoughts and feelings are real. They're not something that you can turn on and off at all times. You know, it's not something like that.
No, and it's not that everybody is like... You don't have to necessarily be understood for it to be valid, and not everybody is going to understand it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, of course. There's so many fetishes, and I'm like, well,
yeah, there's a lot of things that
even the little
like.
man being crushed like a bug. Like, I don't understand why anybody would find that appealing, but there are people who really do, and I want to be respectful to those people because it is a real thing. And if that's your thing, great. As long as you're not hurting yourself or others, which is where this case takes a turn, go for it. And if you... And I think that's the problem, is a lot of the more deviant sexual fetishes people feel ashamed. They only feel comfortable in the outlets that they have, like such as chat rooms or in the dark net, to the point where they don't get help and they sometimes do act out, and then we get the cases on our show. Yep. So it's important to talk to people if you feel like that's something that you need, or you feel like your fantasy is crossing over into the realms of reality. That's important, and we'll talk about that later. Users, like I said, found her posts concerning because they seem to blur the lines between fantasy and reality. However, after speaking with her, they did not find any real indication that she would become a threat to herself or others. And Sharon even replied to Tana saying, I want the real thing. I did not ask for you to preach to me," which is a little odd, considering that they thought she wasn't an actual threat to herself or anyone else if she's saying, I want the real thing. But, I mean, that's for a different conversation, I guess.
We want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Studio.
Studio is a revolutionary company designed with you in mind. They want to revolutionize the way people see headphones as not just a tech device, but also an accessory. Currently, the headphone market can offer you one of two things: style or tech. Studio wanted to think of the consumer who wanted both. Us. Fashionable headphones tend to lack the proper sound quality, and high-tech variations are bulky and not design-oriented, and not to mention, pretty expensive. Studio wants to bridge that gap. While emphasizing modern Scandinavian design, they also provide a product that matches the sound quality of even the highest rated headphones on the market for a fraction of the cost. With 24 plus hours of active battery life and 20 days of standby life, the perfect companion for you at home or on the go. Connect to any device via Bluetooth. If you're interested in getting a pair, which I highly recommend, especially if you like listening to our podcast on the go, we will have a link to their website in the show notes. But even better, if you use our discount code I for an I, that will give you 15% off any purchase. So that is discount code I for an I, EYEFORANEYE, for 15% off any purchase, you guys. Best part is, they have free worldwide shipping. That's right, free. With a sleek design and high quality sound, how could you go wrong? Remember, I for an I gets you 15% off any purchase on their website. Their link will be in our show notes.
At 15% off plus the free shipping, you're not going to find a better deal anywhere on the market. EYEFORANEYE for 15% off any purchase on their website right now. We love you guys. Thank you, Studio.
Thanks, Studio. So now let's get into the lead up here. Now, Robert, who is called Bobby by friends Glass, worked as a computer analyst for the government of Catawba County, North Carolina, for nearly 16 years. Now, he was married for 14 years to his wife, Sherry, and they had 2 daughters and 1 son. So he had 3 kids, married for 14 years. Pretty typical marriage. Pretty, these days it seems like it's a long marriage. Until 1996, he was married. So later in the marriage, Sherry did report that she noticed her husband was spending much more time on the computer than with her. And this was concerning because she said in a lot of the interviews I read and a lot of the articles that I read that the turning point was when her kids came up to her and said, "Why doesn't Daddy love me anymore?" And that's when she was like, all right, enough with the computer. We're turning it off. Like, What's going on here? What's on the computer that's more fascinating than your children or your wife?
Again, we see that internet addiction starting to come to the forefront, where the internet has literally taken people's lives and changed their whole psyche to where they have...
It's an addiction.
It is. It's an addiction. True. You have an online persona and you have a real life persona, and you pick which one you want to be, depending on what time of day it is.
Yep. And so his wife ended up going on the computer. Like I said, she really wanted to know what in the world was on this computer that was more interesting than his family and, seemingly taking him away from them. And she logged onto his email and found several raw, violent, and disturbing messages that he sent under 2 pseudonyms, one being Toyman and one being Slowhand, which are both fucking creepy, but I guess that's the point.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, she instantly got a separation. She filed for divorce. She filed to get separated from her husband. She was like, enough's enough. If this is a side of you that I didn't know about when I married you and now it's come to light and it's so relevant that I'm finding messages upon messages upon messages, I can't. And
clearly
good
a
for
big part of
her
his
because
life.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know this guy, obviously.
Yeah, but at least we know enough to know that he's got some serious issues.
Well, maybe not even issues, but fetishes that could change into being deviant.
Well, if it was violent on the chat rooms, I think that. Although
that's what I'm saying. That's the line that we'll talk about.
That's the line we're gonna get into.
Where does it cross over from online to? Because that doesn't mean that's how he was. Like I said, Sharon. Nobody knew she was this 300-pound.
That's true. That doesn't mean that's how he was
dominatrix online who was asking people to torture her to death. Nobody knew that. They thought she was just having a loving marriage. She just spent a lot of time on the computer.
Yeah,
and that's a
very
point
true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Lopatka first met Glass in August 1996, so right after his divorce or separation while in a pornographic chat room. Go figure, because that's where it seems like she spent most of his time, and so did he. Now, through email, Lopatka presented her fetish of being tortured to death to Glass, while he sent messages back to her about how he would fulfill her fantasy. Now, again, this whole case is basically... where is the line between fantasy and reality, and what happens if you cross that line, and how, that it's just the whole thing. So this is where we get into the the wild part of the case, Matt. So buckle up.
Let's hit it.
Listeners. So if you're disturbed by, I think, let's put a trigger warning here. If you're disturbed by sexual deviance, rape, murder,
any
of
violent
that,
sexual conduct,
any violence with a sexual tone, I would say skip this part. But yeah, so this is your warning if you're triggered by that kind of thing, by violent sex or violence in general. This is a part that you probably want to skip over for the next 10 minutes or so, or just keep hitting 15 until I say okay, you're good to go. But it's kind of all goes downhill from here till the end. So on the morning of October 13th, 1996, Lopatka, who was 35 at the time, informed her husband she was going to Georgia to meet some acquaintances. It's kind of strange. I don't know, if that's all she told him, or if she, gave specific names. Because, I don't know what husband would be like, oh, who are you going?
Oh, yeah, all right.
Go by.
Have fun.
Yeah, don't care.
See you, honey.
Even not being a controlling person, I would still be like, oh, who are you going to see?
Yeah,
what friend? I've been married to you for 5-6 years. Who?
Plus, you got to think they're in Maryland. So he was like,
12-hour trip.
Georgia? Who you know in Georgia? What?
Yeah, but you would think, but I guess he didn't really question it, or he said, have fun, honey. So he was gone for work when she was leaving, and she left him a note, and the note said something that was really concerning, Matt, and this is how this all spiraled to the police, at least. So the note said that she would not be returning home, and requested not to track down Glass. Now, the note also read, Matt, if my body is never retrieved, don't worry. Know that I'm at peace.
Okay.
So she left this note for her husband and left for Georgia. Now that morning, Lopatka drove her blue Honda Civic to Baltimore's Pennsylvania station, which was a 45-minute drive away from her house, and arrived on an Amtrak train in Charlotte, North Carolina by 8:45 p.m. So this was a 12-hour journey. From her house to the final destination was a 12-hour journey. Glass drove with Lopatka in his pickup truck to his Royal Lenore, North Carolina mobile home, which was 80 miles from Charlotte. So this is a trek, man. This is not like I'm Ubering to your house or going to be there in 5 minutes. This is not like a quick drive. She is traveling.
Plus
far.
I'm pretty sure Lenoir, North Carolina is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
it's 80 miles from Charlotte. So it's there has to be some kind of... There has to be such a real want there to travel that fucking far.
I mean, you took a whole half a day out of your life to go 12 hours to see somebody you've never met.
Yeah.
For God knows what reason. Well, we know what reason, but...
Yeah, we'll find out now. So, basically, Lopatka's husband, Victor, did find the note that she left him and notified the police, because of course that's so fucking concerning. Who wouldn't notify the police if you saw a note that said, if you never find my body, don't worry, I'm at peace.
Don't worry, yeah. I'd be like,
the hell?
What?
I would have been fine at the I'm never coming home part, maybe. That would still be concerning, but that's more I left you, sorry, bye. It's she wanted him to know what her plan was. Because why is that part necessary? Oh, by the way,
anything, yeah,
my body never turns up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to go die now. If you don't hear from me, it's because I'm dead.
Like a suicide note.
It sounds that way, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's probably how it was viewed, yeah.
He notified the police, who found 6 weeks of email conversations between Lopatka and Glass.
Wow.
Yeah. So close to 900 pages of emails between the two were discovered by police during the investigation of Lopatka's. Soon we'll find out what happened, but during this research. And clearly they are looking for a homicide at this point, because they believe, based on her note, or death by suicide, because they're seeing this note, if my body's never found, that definitely raises questions. It's kind of confusing, because I've seen police reports where it doesn't seem that they take cases that are more, they're more convincing and serious. You know what I mean? This is a note left by a woman who you would think the police would be like, oh, she just ran away. She's just being, she just doesn't want to be talked to or found. But you see, kids go missing and they don't take it as serious as they took this. They launched a whole fucking investigation.
Right.
So that's my question. Because, what... I see runaway cases all the time where the kids are small and they're gone, and their parents no, they would never run away, I promise you, and they still have to wait 2 days, 24 hours. before they can look for them. And that's the most important time for a kidnap victim or, any kind of victim to find them.
I don't think that's necessarily the case with, like, confirmed kidnappings, but if, like, a kid is missing, though, yeah. Like,
yes, the first 24 to 48 hours is the most important.
Oh, no, I mean, like, the part about, you're right about that being the most important time. I mean about the police not being able to do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure if it's a confirmed kidnapping,
and
they're
like if you saw someone take your kid, But
or like if you know that, like, they were supposed to be here, they're not here. There's nowhere else they could be. It's not like the kid wandered off down the road to Jimmy's house, like.
But that's why it's weird to me, because this is like, I mean, if I saw that note, I would just kind of be like, it looks like she's leaving you, son. Like, I mean, it's a little concerning and odd, but, like, I wouldn't think to, like, hack her email and look into, like, months and years worth of conversation. You know what I mean? Would you, like,
I think it's the whole if my body doesn't turn up.
Yeah, I guess.
It's almost like, if I don't turn up, be like, oh, okay, she's down in New Orleans,
that's true. And I guess maybe he could have thought it was written by someone else.
Right, very true.
Because, like, who the fuck would write if my body doesn't turn up?
Yeah.
Besides our girl Sharon here. Yeah, like I said, more than 900 pages of emails between the two were discovered by police during the investigation. And in her email correspondence with Glass, Lopatka had explicitly asked Glass to torture her to death. Now, more than 50 of the 900 pages, more than 50 of these messages showed her sexual desire of being tortured to death. And that was discovered by the News and Observer. Now, the Baltimore Sun reported that several weeks before her death, she had traveled to New Jersey to meet a man who offered to torture, then slay her. But when he realized she was serious, he backed out. So Glass was man number 2.
Yeah, she was going to go to some guy that was going to kill her 2 weeks before, and he realized, oh shit, she's not killing her.
Yeah, like, oh shit, this crossed a line here. Like, this is getting into some not okay territory. Because like I said, sexual fantasies, you do you, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, and this is definitely obviously hurting someone else or yourself. But I'm confused on that one too, because I wonder if she did the same preparation, like left a note for her husband type of thing. Because if she did, maybe he would think, like, I don't think she did, because if she did, why wouldn't her husband be like, oh, she did this last week, like, she's just...
That's what I mean. Why this time? Was it for sure?
I don't know, maybe it was the messages back from Glass where he realized, like, maybe she was like, I'm 100% serious. Are you 100%? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe she, I don't know. I would be very interested to see the conversations. Very horrified, but very interested to see the back and forth between the two of them.
What they must have been saying to one another, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So she is now gone. Her husband has police looking for her because he got these concerning notes. She is 12 hours from home with this unknown man. And North Carolina police ended up staking out at Glass's home for several days, but never once saw Lopatka. On October 25th, 1996, Judge Beverly T. Beale issued a search warrant on the home, and inside the house, investigators discovered items that did belong to Sharon. Now, again, I'm still confused. Like, how would they have a probable cause? Just because they had the email? Now that the email confirmations that
I'm assuming that's what they used as probable cause evidence.
Because like this is just we've jumped from, okay, she left a note saying she's missing. My body might not ever turn up again. Which again, I don't understand why the police took it so seriously in order to lost. I'm glad they did, but you know what I mean. Like it's.
But still, it's very odd that they would have just It sounds like based on her personality, she was a little neurotic. Kind of erratic too, like very out there. So
I'm just confused, like how one thing led to another. Because like I've said, we've seen cases where like all signs point to something bad happening, and the police take some time to actually go in and investigate it.
I'm just thinking, imagine after they dumped her internet and found all the stuff she was doing online, and they told her husband, like, so did you realize that she was doing... He was like...
That's just so, like, creepy to me, like, to not know the person you're living with.
He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they were probably telling him this stuff, like, yeah, she was selling, pornographic videos or claiming she had... Of chloroformed women, and also selling...
They probably had to research him, because, like, if she's claiming she has fucking chloroformed women by the dozens...
He's her accomplice is the first natural reaction. I mean, she was that and selling home decor magazines online, and he was probably like, I didn't even know she had an eBay account. Like shocked.
What is all that? That would be horrifying to be the one to find that out. But So they did search, and they found items in his home that belonged to Lopatka. Lopatka, I guess is how you pronounce that. Sorry, I suck at life. So I'm guessing from that is where they've really turned this into an investigation, because they also found drug and bondage equipment, child pornography magazines. First of all, fucking magazines.
A .357 Magnum and several computer discs, as well as trash and toys outside the trailer.
Remember, he did have 3 kids. So, which is scary that they would ever be near this house if that is what's going on. If he has child porn. Magazines.
You hope they weren't there when all this was happening.
Or we hope that they weren't, assaulted as well from their father.
Oh, God.
Now, a police officer noticed when searching the house that a small mound of soil 75 feet away from the home looked like it had recently been dug up. Like been earthed. What's it called?
Unearthed.
And so he went and moved some of the dirt around, and 2.5 feet below that mound, he found body parts. Now, these body parts did, in fact, belong to Sharon Lopatka. Her wrists and ankles were bound, and her neck was reportedly encircled with a rope. There were scrapes on her breasts, and a police photo taken that week showed a pack of dogs loitering around the shallow grave. Behind them, Glass's trailer sits against the barren trees that mark the edge of the 800 square mile
Pisgah National Forest.
There you go, because I can't read or pronounce things. They said that by they I mean County Investigator D.A. Brown, said that if Lopatka's body was buried in the woods behind his house, it might have never been found. So this case would have probably been a cold case.
Yep.
They didn't have enough evidence to prove he did anything at that point. I mean, obviously they found her shit in his house, but
eventually it became obvious. But
so Glass was arrested at work the following day after this discovery, charged with first-degree murder and held without bond in the Caldwell County Jail. Glass was also hit with additional state and federal charges for the possession of child pornography. Now, interviewed later during his imprisonment, Glad did admit to fulfilling Lopatka's torture fantasy, but he said the death was an accident. He told investigators that for several days, he and Sharon had acted out their violent sexual fantasies in his trailer. He confessed that Sharon had willingly allowed him to tie her up with rope and probe her with objects around the house. Bobby also admitted that Sharon allowed him to tie a rope around her neck and tighten it as she climaxed during intercourse. He recalled, "I don't know how much I pulled the rope. I never wanted to kill her, but she ended up dead." Now, this was supported by the autopsy performed by Dr. John Butts, the chief state medical examiner of North Carolina, who stated that Lopatka was accidentally strangled to death 3 days after her arrival in North Carolina. Okay, good to go. Now, can we go over that his name is Dr. John Butts real quick?
I mean, that couldn't be any more fitting. So.
That's probably one of her fetishes, too.
Yeah, it could have been.
But yeah, he said that she was accidentally strangled to death. Now, Matt and I talked about this before we started recording. I'm not 100% sure how you could rule it something being an accidental strangulation when there's 2 people involved. I know auto asphyxiation is a thing, or autoerotic asphyxiation, where people
suffocate themselves to the point that they're
pass out, but they do it in such a way where it will most of the time they'll untie the situation before it turns lethal. So I'm not sure. I know that would be accidental. Clearly, hopefully, I don't know how that works. I don't even want to keep going with that conversation. I'm digging myself into a hole. So the police did disagree with this, however. Their search warrant affidavits described the death as intentional and that the emails proved it. Mm-hmm. So the bondage group maintained a core roster that had tried to maintain the space as a safe haven. In the case of Sharon Lopatka, it didn't work, and Delano still regrets what she sees as collective failure, one larger even than the murder. Now remember, Delano's not a real name. It's the pseudonym of this person speaking out who is part of this group, but they did say, in an effort to be inclusive, we open the doors to predators and harassers and we silence their victims because the community puts a higher value on fun, sexy time than identifying, excluding, and turning in rapists and abusers.
Now, to be fair, the internet's relative anonymity could make it hard to weed out bad actors, people that are intending
and that's
to
what we're going to discuss.
Right.
Because this is where the line is, like, where is the line?
Right.
Do these people need an outlet? And if there's an outlet, are we supposed to be censoring this outlet?
And how do we find these people a sensible way to do this without being actually involved in hurting people?
Yeah. So Glass didn't escape everyone's notice either. So Sharon was reported numerous times for being deceptive online and having businesses that weren't providing the products that she claimed she had. But apparently he didn't have a clean record either. Apparently a user named Perigel Armstrong objected to Glass's behavior and banned him from her channel, saying, "I recognized him as a dangerous fool and refused to talk to him. He was an idiot, and I have no use for fools who use D/S, which is domination and submission, as a cover for abuse." So it does seem within the community, and I do believe that this is true, that there is a very fine line between abuse and being respectful and consensual, dominant, and a sub, that kind of relationship.
Yep.
Let's get into trial and sentencing real quick. They first tried to charge him with murder 1 because they believe the emails prove that he set up this to kill her. That was the point of the whole plan, that the whole thing was intentional, planned, and then obviously the murder was acted out. However, they did reduce that sentence to voluntary manslaughter in response for a guilty plea. So he did plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter and sexual exploitation charges on January 27, 2000, and sentenced to 36 to 53 months in the Avery Mitchell Correctional Institution. He was also sentenced to an additional 27 months for federal charges of second-degree minor exploitation to be served consecutively. So it's about 5 years and some change.
Yes.
Now, in addition, he did face 5 years of state-supervised probation, 2 to 3 years of federal probation, and must pay $5,526 in restitution to Lopatka's family and $20,000 to his court-appointed attorneys. And I was asking Matt earlier, like, that number seems just so fucking random that he has to pay in restitution to Lopatka's family, the $5,526. Like, why is it so exact? That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know where that number came from, but very precise.
I don't know. I guess that's what.
Maybe that was his entire net worth or something like that, like $25,526, and he had to pay $20,000 legal fees and pay them the rest.
That could make sense. So I wanted to go over, because we've gone over this in a few of our other podcasts, other episodes. If you haven't checked them out, please go check them out.
Woo!
But basically, I wanted to go over the definition of voluntary manslaughter, because we've talked about manslaughter, we've talked about murder 1 and murder 2, but now I wanted to just talk about voluntary manslaughter. Now, that is the killing of a human being in which the offender acted during the heat of passion under circumstances that would cause a reasonable person to become emotionally or mentally disturbed to the point that they can't reasonably control their emotions. This sounds like a case where that is exactly what happened, if what he said happened is true. That they were in the middle of sex, it was rough sex, and they got carried away, and then she ended up dead. Yeah. But I can't think of any, like, what would another voluntary manslaughter case be? Like, I can't think of any other case other than, like, a crime where you're, like, actively having sex with someone and then the person dies.
Voluntary manslaughter?
Like, what would
I think
another?
the most obvious one would be an angel of death. Somebody who's killing people that are sick, euthanizing them for, you know, if they were...
You think that's in the heat of passion?
Well, no, but if someone tells you to kill them and you say, okay, I'll do it.
Got it. I thought, yeah. Because I was thinking of angel of death as in, like, the nurses who do it without anyone's consent and they just, like, kill people.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. But no, I mean...
Like, where the person's, like...
Where the person's consenting.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
$1 million baby type thing.
Yes,
you know,
got it.
Pull the plug.
So, on February 20th, 2002... which was 1 month before he was to finish his state sentence and begin his federal sentence, so about 4 years into his sentence, Glass was found dead of a heart attack in prison. So, the Lopatka case was reportedly the first where a murder suspect was put in custody by the police department, mainly due to the evidence from emails. So that's what we were talking about, like, where did they get this evidence to search his house? Where did they get the evidence to, like, dig up his backyard? It was all due to emails, and apparently this was one of the first cases where their sole evidence was through email correspondence.
Right.
So, I'm majority of the media coverage of Lopatka's killing mainly put their focus on the dangerous consequences of internet-held meetings, so chat rooms.
Yes.
And that's what I want to talk with you in a second. But several people requested that a form of censorship be created to better protect humans from killings like that of Lopatka's, while anti-censorship activists counter-argue that the people could better express controversial beliefs in an open forum without the need of a real identity. Now, writers have labeled the situation as one of the earliest examples of what psychologists call Mardi Gras phenomenon, the Mardi Gras phenomenon, where one uses a variety of personalities to decrease their chances of having a consequence for their actions. Now, I looked it up, and literally there was only one article I could find regarding the Mardi Gras phenomenon. And they said, again, that it was a term referring to the ability to mask one's identity on the internet as a way of expressing oneself freely and anonymously in online chat rooms and news groups, or to assume various personalities to lure people and commit murder. Sounds like some dark room type shit.
Some dark net stuff, yeah.
Type stuff. But thanks to the popularity of this case, there was some good things, like positive things, not good things, that came from this. I guess positive and good are synonymous, but you know what I mean. It's not good that this happened, but there were some positive outcomes of this particular trial being so popular. Psychologists increased their desire in having a better understanding of atypical sexual desires caused by sadism, masochism, and asphyxia. Debate flared about the moral dimensions of what happened between Glass and Lopatka. One Usenet poster contrasted it with the controversial assisted suicides performed by Dr. Jack Kevorkian, writing, "Helping someone end their life when they are in pain from a terminal disease is one thing. I can sympathize with Dr. Kevorkian. But helping someone out of the world just because they're depressed, as with Slowhand and Sharon L., is at best a morally questionable thing to do." Now, another user wrote, "If someone says, 'I want you to kill me,' it's a reasonable assumption to regard that as an indicator of mental or emotional difficulty such that would render a person incompetent to give consent to something so significant as to end their life." And then the last poster argued the line between Lopatka's family and the fantasies of extreme BDSM were perhaps too fine to delineate, writing, "While this obviously isn't a kink that is up everyone's street, I have yet to hear anyone come up with a coherent strategy for determining when someone's consent should be disregarded for their own good. It seems to me that in the final analysis, we either agree to respect other people's choices and decisions, or we don't." So the question of whether anyone can rationally consent to their own murder was both morally and legally complicated. Now, Bill Palmer, who is a criminal attorney in Glass's hometown, told the Baltimore Sun that the consensus among the 11 lawyers he knew that Lopatka's death was considered assisted suicide. Before we get into discussing that whole part, because that's what I really want to talk about, I wanted to go over some numbers real quick. So according to the American Psychiatric Association, about 250 deaths occur every year in the U.S. involving strangulation or chokeholds during sexual activity. Now, a large majority, as we talked about before, of these deaths have occurred during autoerotic asphyxiation, in which one restricts one's own oxygen during the masturbation or solo play. Now, Jay Weissman of Society for Human Sexuality says that only a few of those cases resulting in death due to strangulation or chokeholds have ever involved a sexual play with a partner. So only a few of them. There are many theories to explain why some people participate in deviant sexual behavior, such as sexual strangulation. Now, Matt, one of those theories suggests a deprivation of normal social sexual contact or childhood trauma cause such behaviors. But there are also theories that physiological causes of deviant sexual behavior that focus on the relationship between the sexual hormones and the central nervous system. So currently there is no evidence that suggests that either Sharon nor Bobby suffered from early childhood trauma, abnormal sexual experiences, or hormone dysfunction. Like I said, they were both
very accountably normal.
Yeah, every account besides their online behavior said that these people were as normal could get. She was not. We're gonna do cases kind of like this one, a little bit more extreme. By little, I mean a lot more extreme in regards to this. But we're gonna do cases similar to this. But hers is far from the first case to be apparent, like a assisted suicide kind of by murder type of thing.
Nude R. Jorgensen wrote in 1995 about the 1791 case of composer Franz Kotsuara, who enlisted the help of a London sex worker, Susanna Hill, to assist him in his own bizarre wish. And after paying Hill 2 shillings, if you can believe it, Kotsuara asked her to cut off his genitalia, which is a request that she refused, and yet she did eventually agree to fulfill his sexual desire of strangling him with a rope. And that was actually the first documented case of death by sexual strangulation.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. So he first wanted to have his balls removed.
Dick and balls removed.
And then he was like, all right, if you won't do that, I want you to just kill me. It's funny, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's just like so beyond the realm of normal comprehension that it's just like, and by normal comprehension, I mean, your everyday comprehension.
Able to be processed normally.
Yeah, Hill was eventually arrested in that case for a murder, but was later acquitted when authorities learned that she was more or less an innocent bystander, which is kind of
That's basically, yeah, I mean, it's basically what you are.
So let's talk about it, Matt. A lot of things to talk about here real quick to dissect. Chat room. So we talked in the Centoya Brown episode, which is episode 10 for those who have not listened, to someone who had been through sex trafficking themselves. And I don't remember, I don't know if you do, how it came up. But basically the conversation turned to like pedophilia and like different sexual deviant behaviors, and how we were discussing, should these people be entitled to an outlet if they're non-offending?
Right.
Like a chat room. Like, should they be able to release these desires and fantasies in a safe space so they don't go and offend? Or is that perpetuating their fantasies? Is that... Because you have to think... We were talking about this before we started recording. I believe these things aren't something you can just turn on and off. Mm-hmm. If you really have such a sexual deviant fantasy, I do believe it either stems from trauma or it stems from something in the brain.
I would agree.
And both would be very difficult to turn off, whether it's something innate or if it's something that was learned based on your, experiences.
Right.
So, what do you think about that? What do you think? Just what do you think about that part of it? Like, do we need these chat rooms? Or, I don't know if you saw the article I posted, which just kind of disturbed me to a whole new level. But they're coming out, it looked like in somewhere in Asia, they're coming out with childlike sex dolls.
Yeah, I did hear about that. And
that's like a line. That's such a line.
Like, yeah, it's a little off because it's like, if you're giving people permission to do that, it almost becomes second nature to say. I think they're viewing it as this is our way of people with that fantasy being able to get off on that fantasy. I almost think that's encouraging people to say, hey, just do it with a sex doll. Well, what if you can't afford a sex doll, but you still have that fantasy?
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it with a fucking sex doll. Why should they get to do it? I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's in any way...
But I guess in the other realm is the same thing with the chat room. People see, like, okay, if they're abusing a doll, if they have this doll at their ability, like, they're not going to go out and find a real kid.
And do something real. Right, and yeah.
But it's just, with that, it's just so disgusting to think about all the way around. But it's these are real fetishes. This is something that a lot of people... it's not, I don't think it's definitely a minority of people, but, it's more than you would think that have these kind of deviant sexual desires.
It is an existing and a significant population of the internet community that has these types of fantasies, and I don't know a number, but I mean, it's enough that people have brought it up before and it's become an issue.
And have tried to make a market for it.
Right. So I think there's definitely, it goes without saying that there needs to be something for these people with that sort of fantasy to do about it, A
lot of people would be like, okay, if they need something, even though they're, like, in some people's mind, they're sick monsters, which is not necessarily what I think. They would say therapy, go to therapy, talk to someone, go to the police, turn yourself in. You have these sick thoughts, you need to go get help. But we know, I'm sure, and anybody that's, really thinking this through in a reasonable place and not from an emotional place, would say, how hard would that be to bring up, oh, by the way, I'm sexually attracted to the thought of being killed. You know what I mean? Like, how easy would that be to roll off the tip of a tongue to a therapist or a psychologist or any of the above? So we do need some kind of outlet, don't you think, where these people can unleash it?
And I think, like, what they said about anonymity being a big factor in this, that one comment said is, not everybody wants to sit down and make an appointment and say, sometimes I think about fucking someone that's dead.
Yeah.
Even a therapist is going to sit there and be like, okay,
well then.
What makes you think that? And it's almost like, I don't fucking know. I'm not sure. Or maybe I do know, but...
But then on the other side of it, it's like, okay, these chat rooms are all people that feel the same way or very similar to each other. Are they just riling each other up? And like how, so in the case of Sharon, how do we wean out the ones that do have deviant intentions, that do have the sadistic and disgusting intentions of actually offending? Because those people are very, very well in those chat rooms too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And how do we wean out? Why? Like, is there a way to wean out those people from the people that are strictly using it as a fantasy outlet and not something that they would ever conceive doing in real life? Whereas there's people that are actively seeking out,
they're
children or dead bodies or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of people that are on these chat rooms aren't in any way intending to do anything, but there are also that minority of the minority of people that are using it for that reason alone, to find people to potentially victimize.
And so I think that's the main argument with the other users in chat rooms when talking about this case. It's like the last comment I read said, it's either we censor it or we don't. There's really, the line is so fine that it's literally like you either do it or you don't, because how can you tell one person is more serious than another? Because you could have such an extreme fantasy or such an extreme, I guess fantasy is what the word would be. Fantasy, and it could be more extreme than mine, but what if my intentions are actually to go out and act on mine and yours aren't?
Right.
So so is it the more extreme in words, more extreme in, like, how do you judge that? Because maybe I'm not as extreme in the chat room as you, but I'm actually planning on going out and finding my fantasy.
Right.
And
you don't even realize that the dangerous person is the dangerous person until they've acted on it. And then the person that might just be like Sharon, she's just experimenting a little bit. But we don't know. She also got on a bus or drove for 12 hours. Was it a train? She got on a train for 12 hours to go south to meet some guy she never met before.
With the intentions of being killed.
And yeah.
So. And it makes you wonder, because like I said, we're going to cover a lot of cases that kind of have to do with the same thing. So it is situational. There is absolutely a situational, because some of the ones that we're going to cover are a lot different than this case, in logistics wise. But it's always so fascinating to me, because how still do we know that it wasn't murder? How do we know that she wanted it to be real, like in her fantasy,
right? And
then when she got there, she just sat there, like. But then again, I guess showing up,
that tells you,
shows that your intentions are to act.
That should tell you enough that was there.
And I wonder, so obviously they had an 80-mile drive back from the train station to his trailer.
What did they talk about?
That's what I want to know.
What were they thinking? So.
And for 3 days she was alive before she was killed. So they went through all these sexual scenarios. They said he tied her up and he beat her and he probed her with things which she was consenting to. She wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
And he claims, I don't know if this was ever corroborated with evidence or anything, but he states that she was holding the rope that she died with, that she was helping him strangle her. Yeah,
and honestly, it seems like up until the point that she died, she was pretty much a willing participant to everything.
So is it like assisted suicide or is it murder? And I guess they did kind of decide it was more like assisted suicide, because they had 900 pages of emails with Sharon straight up saying, I want you to kill me. I want you to torture me to death.
Right.
It's so, what's so wild about this case is that, like I said, by all accounts, she was your everyday girl. Normally you associate these kind of cases with trauma. Who would want to die by torture? If you want to die, which is horrible, and we don't ever condone that at all, but you would think you'd want to do it fast and painless. You want it to get over.
Wouldn't be 3 days of torture and sex.
It wouldn't be this, but I guess that's part of the sadomasochistic part of it. I don't know. So. Eye for an eye. Obviously, he ultimately ended up dying in jail before his sentence was over, but he basically got about 5 years in jail. Do you think that was justified for this case?
It's hard to say, because I think he deserved some time in jail. Definitely.
Yeah, because murder. Well,
yeah,
you helped kill somebody.
Right. Look.
Kind of like the Michelle Carter case.
Kind of like the Michelle Carter case. What we were talking about with... It's a difference between what happens online in a chat room is abstract. It's not real. It's not something that anybody can say, hey, look, point to it and say, this happened.
Yeah.
Whereas if you actually go there and you find a way to get to the point that you're in the situation that you could be killed, or you could kill someone, that person, if they're in a situation, deserves to be punished for it if someone dies, I think. I mean, you said it,
Because instead of saying, like, let's take you to a hospital or let's get you help or I'm not going to participate to the extent where it could
you
really harm you.
You poured gasoline all over a big building, okay? You walked around with a box full of matches, you struck the match, and then you just kind of stood there and waited for it to blow up. I mean, like, if you do all these things and it adds up to someone's going to eventually get hurt or could eventually get hurt, and then someone does get hurt, it's like, well, duh. Like, eventually,
So do you think they were right in the voluntary manslaughter charge as opposed to murder one,
I do. I think they were right to charge him with that. I think they were right to sentence him to jail time. I don't believe he deserved to die in prison, though. That's the thing that almost makes it unfair because it's like, he...
Who could have... I wonder if that was, like, ramifications or if he just was in ill health.
No, I don't think so necessarily. I mean...
Just God's plan.
God's plan.
That is kind of crazy that he passed away literally, like, 2 months before he was set to get out. And I think they counted time served for the other one, too. So I think, like, he was slated to get out and be free.
Yeah.
Although he did have those stipulations of probation and everything, as he should have.
But still, I mean, it would have been him being a free man as opposed to die in prison, which...
Yeah. But then again, you have to think he also had child porn on him.
Right. I mean, this guy was not the upstanding citizenry of, what we expect people to be. But honestly, at the same time, do I think he deserved to die in prison? No.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Do you think eye for an eye was met?
No, I agree with you. I think that he absolutely deserved... Well, okay, so based on the prison sentence, yes, I think 5 years... Okay, you were part of someone's demise. It was in a deviant fashion, like it was semi-planned.
Yeah, right. This wasn't like, oh, she died from them.
Yeah.
She was helping them fix the roof.
Yeah.
Darn it. She fell through.
It was like
no, they were fucking for
out.
3 days, torturing. We assume he was just torturing her. Maybe she was doing the same to him. I don't know. But there was a lot of deviant sexual shit going on for a few days here before this happened. So, I don't think this guy was necessarily,
a saint by any means. And I think,
Pope,
he was doing things that would be harmful to her, obviously, because that's what she was asking. But, I mean, if I asked you to shoot me in the face right now, that doesn't mean you're going to go bring out a gun and shoot me in the face.
Yeah, it's like...
Obviously, it's different, and like I said, I don't want to disrespect people in the BDSM scene because this is not at all like that. This is
and we're not judging anybody with a fantasy. I mean, like, for God's sake, we all have our fantasies, but like it's like we're trying to say
into that next level.
Yes, where you take it to the point where somebody could get hurt. It's like it doesn't really rhyme well to say, oh well, it wasn't so dangerous when. But it was, like, it's... And honestly, a lot of this BDSM is able to say that, like, it pushes the limit, but nobody's really getting hurt. There's safety.
Trust, consensual agreements.
Right. We all know that it's a little bit over the line, but at the same time, you would hope that consenting adults know what they're doing and are like, hey, if that's your thing, you're into it. Whatever. I'm not going to judge.
A lot of these people take it very seriously as well with safety precautions and, making sure... everybody in the situation is comfortable, which is funny because it kind of seems to the people that don't, like me, like that aren't into BDSM type of things, it would seem kind of redundant that they take these safety precautions because the whole thing is about,
not doing it safely.
Yeah,
right.
Kind of pushing that envelope, but a lot of people say it is about trust more than like the actual like ripping and stuff. But regardless, for this, I do think an eye for an eye was met sentence-wise. Obviously, I agree with you that I don't think that should have warranted a death sentence. Obviously, that wasn't by
it wasn't a death sentence, but at the same time, the man died in
jail.
Prison. So.
But I mean, who was to predict that, I guess? But,
right. That's why I say, like, I do
think
it was
about it, and, like, Sharon's family, like, what the fuck are they? They're probably all fucking...
Think about what her husband thought after all this. I mean, like, so... I'm sorry to tell you that your wife died after 3 days of being torture fucked by some random guy in North Carolina. Like...
At her discretion.
Off of her internet sites, we're able to tell you this.
Was like. Probably so vanilla, so like just bebop done.
He was probably like, wow, I never even knew she was into that.
Yeah. Like, shit, the most she would do is starfish out.
Yeah. She got on top of me like twice our whole marriage. So it was crazy.
Oh, that's so bad to be making. But, I mean, it's true. Like, it seems like everybody was so caught off guard by this whole case because it's like, how the fuck did we not see any of this?
Yeah.
But that makes you wonder in your own relationships now. Like I'm sure, you know, we've come across people where they seem normal, and I'm sure they're hiding some big secrets. Maybe not as deviant or extreme, but... So I do think an eye for an eye was met as far as sentencing goes. I think it was appropriate. I'm happy that they didn't charge him with first-degree murder because although it was planned, it was clearly she was running the train.
Right.
So she was the conductor. He was the co-conductor. The co-pilot. You know, she made the plans. He just kind of was like, okay, hell yeah, sure, let's do it. You know what I mean? I don't know if he really did have the intentions that it seemed like she really had. Like, she obviously was very serious about it. But then again... Maybe he didn't realize, because like the case in New Jersey, the guy was like, she came here and I didn't realize how serious she was, so she was physically here.
Yeah, and then you're like,
because like he agreed with it up to that point. He gave her his out, you know, he like got her up to the point where she was physically in front of him.
He probably thought like, oh, this is one hell of a fantasy.
Yeah,
she's
like
got
one weekend of like rough sex and boom, done.
That's it.
But then you realize like, okay, she's a little bit more serious. And that, I think that point, I hope that came out while it was in trial. Because I think that point is important. She actively sought this out before. Yep.
It made it seem like
and the guy put a halt to it because he was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, she made it seem like she was into it up to the point that if she died, she was okay with it. So almost like, what do investigators have to think other than, okay, well, maybe she was into that. And
yeah. And I agree with the comment that was about Dr. Kevorkian and that, you know, assisting someone who is really in pain or with a terminal illness or with no hope to a quality of life, that makes sense to me. But this is something where I don't know. I just don't understand because it doesn't really seem like it. Maybe she was severely depressed.
Maybe.
Or I believe that this really is a fantasy of some people. You know, some people have the syndrome where you don't want to have your limbs anymore. Nobody can explain where that comes from. Yeah. But you just suddenly want to cut off your leg, and it's something you've always think about. And then you finally do it. It's real, and it's just like, how do we help these people? How do we... Are there lines? We can't put... is it fair to put lines in the sand when people do use these outlets for seriously rehabilitation, like to be an outlet so they don't offend? Or
so they don't do anything like to hurt somebody else, you know?
Or
like,
themselves.
Or themselves. Well, this was an absolute...
mindfuck.
Mind bender, though, because... What the hell?
Yeah, what... Really, though, what the hell happened here? This could be a case in and of itself of what the hell happened here.
If anybody can offer us any insight on what it's like to fuck for 3 days and survive that with all that going on, good for you guys. We don't care. We don't want to know because, man, that's out there. Good for you guys, though. I'm impressed, to say the least.
I guess if you go 12 hours with this only on your mind, I'm sure you get it all out. But yeah, so I guess we both agreed that an eye for eye was met? Wasn't kind of met?
I think we can agree
was met, but then the Lord took it into his own hands.
The Lord took his own...
The Lord taketh... The Lord take, the Lord taketh away.
The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away.
That's it. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away.
The upper room.
So it's a sad case all around, but it's definitely one that needs to raise awareness. I'll definitely try to find some links that we can put in our show notes along with the other links that we have there currently. Check those out if you need any resources. They're always there in every single show. I sometimes try to add more or take out some if they're not really relevant to the case. However, I'm going to find ones in this case, like the hotline for sexual deviance or whatever from San Francisco type of thing.
Yes.
See if there's a more general one. Because I do believe that this is something that people need to have some kind of an outlet. What that outlet is and when is it crossing a line is something that's definitely going to be widely debated always. And I still don't understand. I don't know what my own answer to that question is. But I do feel like it's important to recognize that these are real things that real people are feeling. And we can't discredit them as, oh, they're crazy or, oh, they're, you know, psychopaths or, oh, they're, you know, you can't do that because that's not it.
They're very real fantasies that very many people have that are not in any way. I mean, some of them I don't want to say they're not invalid, but hey, who am I to judge? Everybody's got their own feelings.
Yeah, we can't say, like I said, like the saying, like I said, if there's a thing, there's a porn for it. It's kind of the same
Rule
thing.
34. Was it Rule 32?
Matt, I'll have to link this article if I can find it, you guys. First of all, shout out to the website Cracked. Fucking funniest website on the planet. Have you ever read it?
Mm-mm.
So it's like comedic writers that write about real things. Like they're all real scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Or like real issues. And one of them is on sexual fantasies. Like deviant sexual fantasies. One, the guy like has a fantasy of being like spontaneously combusting, like being lit on fire.
Right on.
And then the other one has a fantasy of being eaten or eating someone or something. But it's like sick, but it's so funny to be like the way it's written. And it really opens your eyes because these are real people that they've interviewed for this.
And they're talking about real thoughts people have had, yeah.
But I'll link it in the show notes if I can find it. You guys have to check it out. It's sick to say it's funny, but I swear it's like this website is the funniest fucking thing in the world, especially if you like true crime, because they lay out all the facts, the details, the links, everything that you would need, but they write it in such a way where you don't feel as guilty, you know, reading about it or enjoying it, because it's just so fucking funny the way it's written.
It's hip to be square.
And with that, please go rate, review, and subscribe if you like us. Tell your friends, tell your fam. Keep the shout-outs coming. We love them. We love all of you.
We do.
All right. Nighty-night. Don't let the bed bugs bite.